Welcome, everybody, to the Celtics tip-off special. 90 minutes of good basketball talk about to come your way as we look ahead at what the Boston Celtics have in store for them over this abbreviated NBA schedule, 66 games, over 120 or so games. I got Tom Heinsohn next to me, Donnie Marshall. Sherrod Blakely is going to stand by in the AT&T web zone. And a reminder, your calls come in 877-CSN-2160. That's 877-276-2160. Please submit your questions now, and we'll talk about them over the next 90 minutes or so at csnne.com/Celtics chat, or you can go on Twitter and use hashtag Celtics chat, and we'll get the questions and we'll try to answer them for you. The Celtics guys made some moves today. As you know, Jamal Sampson has been let go. He's been cut. Gilbert Brown, the youngster out of Pittsburgh, has also been let go. And Mike Sweetney, who for a moment anyway was the darling of the Boston Garden crowd last night, also let go by the Celtics. So they're down to business now. They have their roster. Who are they going to bring in maybe now? Sherrod Blakely has some of that information for us. What do you got, Sherrod?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. You know, the Celtics, as you know, cut down the roster considerably today, and certainly when you make those kind of moves, it opens the door for other players to come in. One player that looks like he may be coming in as early as this weekend is Mikael Pietrus from the Phoenix Suns. Now, this is a guy, his best years as an NBA player came with teams like Orlando and also in Golden State. 6'6" wing player, very athletic, the kind of player that is, frankly, he can really give the Celtics a dimension that they do not have now that Jeff Green is going to be out throughout the entire season. The one thing he does well is defend. And when you look at the East, you got to have guys at that wing position, as many guys as possible at that wing position who can defend. And he's certainly one of those guys that falls into that mold. You know, Mike, we're going to be here throughout the show just taking your questions. And like I said, let's have a good time. Let's do this.
All right.
Let's go.
All right, should be fun. A lot has certainly happened since May when the Celtics fell to Miami. So before we start talking about the future, let's take a little look at the past.
Wade, James for the lead. James over Pierce. Miami is going to close it out. Motions around Dwayne Wade and LeBron James exercising some demons versus this Celtic team.
When they're making jump shots like they were, they're tough to beat.
Can you determine what your future? Do you know, have any inkling what you might do?
Yeah, I do. I'm leaning heavily to coming back. I haven't made that decision. You know, I'm a Celtic, and I love our guys. And I want to win again here.
Doc Rivers and company looking forward to the future. Doc has a new contract that's keeping him around town for 5 more years.
This is a special place, and I've said that before. Coaches talk about loyalty and team all the time, and I just thought it was time to show it, and that's what I did.
The NBA owners are locking out their players. That will happen at midnight tonight. Two sides are so far apart, they need a miracle to stave it off, and that's just not happening.
You just always have to remember when it's time to negotiate, you know, there's no love lost, but, you know, we got to improve what's best for each party.
But the owners want to see us out there playing, and the guys want to be out there playing as well. So hopefully we can come to some type of agreement before the entire season. It's too late.
There was a very real chance that there would be absolutely no basketball this season, but the two sides finally managed to work it all out.
The NBA season will begin on December 25th, Christmas Day.
Camp is going to be in just weeks, so how crazy is this next month going to be, Sherrod?
Psycho.
Oh, I've never experienced anything more chaotic. It was too fast to try to get it done right.
I tell guys all the time, when you're never mentioned in a trade, pretty much you're not very good. you know, it's a compliment.
There are a few better than Rajon Rondo. Still, the trade rumors surrounding the Celtics point guard just won't go away.
We talk about him growing as a player both on and off the court, and I think this is one of those moments where we're going to see that.
Rondo and I had a long talk. We had conversation. I had many conversations with his agent, and I feel like Rajon is in a very good place.
My heart has always been here since day one, and I play for these guys. I play for the championship, and that's what it's all about. So through all the adversity, I'm still here. I'm excited to be here.
Jeff Green was expected to play a solid role with this year's team, but he will miss the entire season. Green has an aortic aneurysm. This can be very dangerous, but they have discovered it early enough to repair it, and Green can play basketball down the line.
I'm just glad that it was fortunate to be caught early, and he can now go ahead with his life and try to make some adjustments to that, and I just hope that everything works out for him.
The fact that he can actually come back and play, to me, is the minor part. I could care less about that. The fact that he can, live and all that, to me is far more important. So, having said that, like I told our guys, we've been a no-excuse basketball team, and we're going to continue to be that. Stuff happens, and you just got to keep moving forward.
1, 2, 3, together.
We've tried to add character, shooting, professionalism, all those things to our bench.
I think our bench is going to be a lot better than it has in the past. Guys are a lot more focused. I think Keon is going to be a great addition to our bench.
I'm looking forward to the challenge. I put a lot of time and energy in this summer to make sure I was in good shape coming into camp.
With Keon and Will Cox and Bass, we've gotten guys in their late 20s that are, experienced veteran players.
Bass will take it.
Boy, that's a nice shot.
If you were to give a scouting report of yourself, how would it read?
A hard worker, a guy who's a solid defender, rebounder.
Big offensive board. Bass hangs in the air for two.
That was a Superman-type play, I'm going to tell you.
When the guys in the locker room are great, guys upstairs are great. So it's just like, it's just like being home at the family reunion, when you come here, because everybody's on the same page. Everybody's about one thing, and that's winning.
But this group here is a new group, so it's almost like refresh, new blood, same attitude of the team. And guys are coming in here, open arms, embracing it.
This could well be the last chance that you, Ray, and Kevin play a season together.
Just as you said it, I didn't even think about that, that this could be our last time together. And I haven't even said that to them. So, now that I think about it, that's something that I think we can embrace, maybe use it for motivation to go out there and, try to get one last championship.
One last championship certainly would be nice. We're going to talk about that over the next hour and a half or so. Again, 877-CSN-2160 is the telephone number, 877-276-2160. Get on there and get your questions in. Submit them to that for our panel. You can do it also on csnne.com/CelticsChat, or you can go on Twitter. That's where you usually find Tommy using hashtag CelticsChat. All right, guys, let's go back to everything that's happened since May. Donnie, start with you with the very first thing we saw on that tape. After LeBron made a couple of baskets, saying, I'm a Celtic. Did you ever think Doc was not going to come back?
There was some concern, only because I think his family, and that's usually when coaches say it's either the health or their family that they want to be closer to and that they want to take care of. But Doc has really created a family here, and I think his family has learned to adjust to being in Boston and being without him at times. And his kids are getting older, they're in college, they travel a little bit, so it's not like he has high schoolers at home. So I think that actually might have helped him make that decision. And you know what, my kids are out, I can travel to see them play wherever, if they're at Florida, if they're wherever they may be at Duke, I can go and travel and watch them play. But when you get back to the business of basketball, I think he really had something that he wanted to continue here, and that was to try to win another championship. Everyone said it, Paul said it, Ray said it. To win one is great, but to start to create a legacy, you have to win multiple, and Tommy Heinsohn knows best about that.
Winning
multiple championships, yeah.
Well, first of all, I think Doc's family wanted him to come back coaching, particularly his kids. So he did mention that to me. The second thing is that Doc has coached other places, has played other places, and he realizes that he's with a terrific team of management and ownership. And he works very nicely with Danny, and they give him, they're not on his case. They're behind him. They're not stabbing him in the back. They're supporting him in every which way they can. So. Unlike he wins the Coach of the Year down in Orlando, and he gets fired the next season. Right. So
No, that's
Something happened, you know.
That's not
I
gonna
think
happen.
a lot of that has to do with Danny Ainge being a player as well, though. I mean,
Well, true.
when you're a player as a GM and you have a player or president and you're a player that is a coach, it's easy to kind of be on the same page. I really believe that. You know, you look across the board at other teams, maybe not the same camaraderie with a coach and a GM or the guy making the decisions. I think this is a unique situation for both Danny and Doc, and why would you want to ruin that?
Okay, so we get Doc back. We move to the draft because we got to move on here. We get to the lockout. Forget who got what, who won, who didn't win. How bad did the lockout hurt the basketball, the caliber of basketball we're about to watch?
T?
I don't think it hurt it at all. Actually, I'm told that last night we got great numbers for a preseason.
Oh, I think the fans are back. It was kind of an ugly game, though.
Huh?
It was a little bit of an ugly game.
But they were there watching.
Oh, yeah.
There's interest. They didn't lose their interest. That's the big part. They didn't really truly find anything else to go to. And I don't know how many people came up to me after, it was settled and said, boy, I can't wait for the season to start. So there were people sitting there waiting because they have Bruins fans, and then there's a vast majority are not involved in hockey. They've been Celtic fans. So I don't think it's hurt basketball at all.
On the fan side, I think the NBA realized that we need the fans more than the fans need us. There were some polls that came out before in the USA Today that said, you know what, 76% of people out there really didn't care that the NBA was not in. On the basketball side of it, Mike, I think we're going to start to see teams, trying to catch that second win. Guys who really, it kind of snuck up on them. Even though they've been fighting this lockout, I don't think a lot of guys were working out, getting their bodies in the right situation to be able to play and to be thrown into the fire. So the quality of basketball, when you talk about on the court, I think it will be affected at least in this first month.
Yeah, as Doc always likes to say, there's in shape and there's basketball shape. That's right. We haven't had any basketball shape. Boston Celtics basketball is back, though, and Comcast Sportsnet has the Celtics Christmas Day game against the Knicks all covered. Watch a special one-hour edition of the Celtics pregame live presented by Ace Tickets. That'll come your way at 11 a.m. on Christmas morning. Tune in immediately after the game for the Celtics postgame live presented by the New England Ford dealers. It's an in-depth coverage you can't get anywhere else. Kevin Garnett, KG, is usually where the conversation about the Celtics begins. When will it end for KG? We'll have that answer maybe coming up when we come back.
I don't like to anticipate in the future, and because things are not set in stone and you don't know. I'm not a person to go back on my word and none of that, so I don't know. No disrespect to your question, just been getting it a lot. And I'm not going to condone it. I'm not even going to give it in the air because, whatever this year presents itself to be, it will be just that.
We are back at the Celtics tip-off special. The phone lines are filling up. Join us, will you? 877-CSN-2160. That's 877-276-2160. You can submit your questions now for our panel at csnne.com/CelticsChat or on Twitter. Use hashtag CelticsChat. I'm not sure what to make of that sound bite. What do you make of that?
He doesn't know. Yeah, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
He was perturbed. You know what? This guy, when you watch him warm up in a basketball game, he is so focused, you don't even want to talk to him when he's warming up in the game. So he is focused on the season. He's not focused on what's going to happen. He's kind of concentrating on what he wants to do now. And anybody that asks a question like that to him at this point, he thinks they're stupid.
Yeah.
So do I.
Well, two things. No one ever wants to talk about the end. No one ever wants to talk about when it's going to be over. So I like the fact that KG's like, I'm not talking about that. It's about now. And to Tommy's point about him being so focused, there's a story, you guys know this, that Bill Russell was standing on the sideline of one game before the game, and he asked Rondo to get Kevin Garnett, get his attention. And Rondo said, I know you're Bill Russell, but that's just not going to happen. No one messes with KG before the game.
Yeah. Rondo's a wise man.
If he pats you, we've been doing games with him. I mean, every once in a while he'll give me a shot in the stomach. Where did that come from? And that means I love you, I think.
I hope so.
You're in the circle.
I'm taking a few of those shots, too. 877-CSN-2160 is the phone number. Let's take our first call tonight. It's Eric in Boston. Eric, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Okay.
Hey, I just want to know your opinion on which centers we can pick up. Because the ones we got now, I'm not too confident in them. But my other thing is, can we use that Jeff Green money on somebody else?
We can't use the Jeff Green money because we're still over the cap, and the answer is no. We get no break on that at all. So all the Celtics have left is a minimum, I believe, because they gave their $3 million deal
like,
to Wilcox.
So that's the veteran, right? Veteran exception?
Yeah, they gave that to Wilcox.
Oh, they give that to Wilcox.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's no other centers out there we can pick up unless they come off waivers?
No. None that I'm aware of. You aware of any guys?
No.
No.
I think unless Tommy's guy doesn't make it in Miami, Eddie Curry.
Good old Eddie. We can wait for Eddie.
I think, Eric, what you see is what you get.
Before I take Eddie Curry.
Yeah, well,
he doesn't sound too happy with Wilcox. And you know, Wilcox is not, there's no traditional centers really out there anymore, guys. I mean, 7-footers are usually facing the basket, they're shooting jump shots. There just aren't a ton of those guys left.
Yeah.
But what you do have in Chris Wilcox is an athlete, a guy who's athletic, who can get up and down the floor, he can finish in transition. You know what? If he's keeping it simple, that's the best for this team. You don't want Chris Wilcox posting up and getting 18 touches a game. That's just not who he is. I don't have a problem with Chris Wilcox, but again, you're just not going to find your traditional center out there, Tommy. I mean, they don't exist anymore. I mean, it really is a small guys league, and now all the bigs want to face up and shoot jump shots.
Yeah, what they're going to do actually is going to, I think it'll be 5-5-5 throughout the roster.
Yeah.
So I think they will utilize the pace and the quickness of the smaller type big guys that we have to the best advantage. I would hate to be a real guy like Shaq, okay? Trying to keep up with Wilcox and the pace of the game for an entire evening if he was going to play a pace like I think they're going to try and set. So better, I mean, the kid steams running up and down. Imagine guys trying to catch him. When I was coaching, nobody could stay with Dave Cowens. And the big guys he played against, by the end of the game, they lost their legs trying.
He played at Wisconsin, you know.
He did.
Steamsma did.
He did.
Yeah.
You knew that. I knew that. Even though you did
That's a private joke. I apologize for that. Rocco in Saugus. What do you got, Rocco?
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to hang up. How do you think we are going to be able to hang with the Knicks bigs this year? Stoudemire, Mastro, and Chandler. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Okay. Knicks bigs. Problem?
You know, I don't think so. Defensively, I think the Celtics do one thing. They play as a team. They play as a unit. I think the thing that the Knicks are going to struggle with is trying to defend the Celtics team. They're not a team right now that is built to play defense. They want to run up and down, run and gun, and that will last that'll help them the first month and a half of the season. But to win a championship, I just don't think the Knicks have what it takes as far as their bigs are concerned to be able to do it at both ends of the floor. They don't play team defense. That's not. They have a couple guys in Chandler who definitely will. You know, he can be that staple for them, but they're just not all on the same page. And it is young. There's a young season. There's only been a few preseason games, but you just don't turn into a great defensive team overnight. And we all know that. Now, on the other side of it, I think they're going to do a good job scoring. Chandler's not a scorer, though. You know, if you remember him in Dallas, he was a guy who Jason Kidd called go get it. You throw the ball up, he would go get it. That's who he is. You have to know where he is. He's a second shot player. He doesn't scare me as far as post moves on the post. But, Tommy, the Knicks, and not because of their name on the front of the uniform, they just don't scare me. The guys, when you look at the back of their jerseys, they just don't scare me just yet. They're not proven.
Well, the real scorers on the Knicks, the two big guys, first of all, KG is going to take one of them, and probably the only guy in the league that can stay with Stoudemire and do a decent job. Now, if we have forced to play the Knicks without KG for a significant portion of a game or the season, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But I think we have enough people to guard Carmelo. Paul Pierce will do a nice job. If they use the 5-5-5 on Carmelo and they start using the 6 fouls with the people that come behind him and get all over him and press him, I want to tell you something. He's going to lose his legs.
Quick reaction from your coaching days. You're taking a guy in Tyson Chandler who is primarily a defensive center and throwing him in the middle of 4 guys who don't play any defense at all and a coach who doesn't coach defense. I don't understand. How does it make sense?
Well, we're going to find out if it makes sense, you know.
Christmas Day.
That's right. Tune in. No, what I think is will go on. They'll discuss defense. And Carmelo has played with a team that tried to play some defense, and so did Stoudemire. So there'll be some kind of scheme that they will have. I don't think they're going to get as much mileage out of him offensively. So those other two guys have to score, and I don't think their point guards are going to really get the ball to these guys in the best position.
If you're going to start with a defense, try to become a defense team, that's your anchor. You don't want to start with a point guard who locks people down, because if he gets beat, now you're dead.
You don't want to start with Avery Bradley.
That's exactly.
I want to tell you something. With Rondo pressing in the backcourt, they'll make them work the clock down, and it'll be precious little time for either one of those guys to, maneuver around and get into a play pattern. So I think we'll do fairly well with the anticipated style that I think we're going to play.
877-CSN-2160, 877-276-2160. Quat from Brighton, you are next. Hello.
Yes. Hey, first of all, Mike, Donnie, Tommy, great to see all you guys back. Welcome back for another great year of Celtics basketball.
Thank you. It's good to be
all
back.
right. Yes, indeed. Marquise Daniels, here's a guy that, he had that terrible injury last season. Phenomenal story. The guy, there's a chance he would never, let alone play basketball or let alone walk again. And here he is back, fully recovered. What do you guys expect out of him this season? And now with the added, us losing Jeff Green, more pressure and responsibility placed on Marquise. How do you expect him to react this year?
Well, Marquise was the backup to Paul Pierce last year, and I thought he did a great job, even under the circumstances he was laboring under. And right now, this guy is playing with abandon, and he's a slashing driver to the basket, which he didn't do quite a lot last year because of that next situation, I think. I think he's going to be a terrific player this season, and people are going to stand up and say, wow, we didn't know how good he was.
I think if people understand who Marquise is, or more importantly, who he isn't, I think they will be able to appreciate him as a player overall. He's not a three-point shooter. He's not Paul Pierce. He's not going to go one-on-one on guys. But what he will give you is a solid defender. He will give you a guy who can get those Stacey Augmon-type baskets, slashing in transition. Even in the half court, he has that nice mid-range game that I always call the lost art, because people just don't work on it enough. Marquise is one of those guys who definitely...
great 15-foot
through all the healing of his body, he's found time to work on that mid-range game. So great expectations for Marquise this season.
And unfortunately for Marquise, he may get a lot of minutes early. Paul Pierce, what's the story with Paul Pierce? We'll have more as the tip-off special continues. We'll have your tweets. We'll get in the chat room. Stick around. Boston Celtics basketball is back, and Comcast Sportsnet has the Celtics Christmas Day game against the Knicks completely covered. Watch a special one-hour edition of Celtics Pregame Live presented by Ace Ticket at 11. Tune in immediately after the game for Celtics Postgame Live presented by the New England Ford dealers. It's in-depth coverage you can't get anywhere else. Join us on Christmas Day. Welcome back to our Celtics tip-off special. I've got Tom Heinsohn and Donnie Marshall off to my left. We've got Sherrod Blakely out in the AT&T web zone. We got Louis S97 wants to know, Sherrod, for this season, do you think with the possible addition of Michael Pietrus that this bench is better than what the Celtics went with last year?
Yeah, I think there's no question that this bench is better. And a couple reasons. Even without Pietrus, I think this is a better group simply because I think they've got more options, more weapons they can go to off of that bench. Last year, if Glenn Davis wasn't scoring for you in a post, you weren't getting any production around the paint. You've got Wilcox, you've got Bass, two guys who have the ability to score and get you some buckets. And with Pietrus, he gives you a guy that can knock down threes. When you look at the guys on this bench, they really don't have that perimeter threat coming off the bench that, we've seen, other teams that have made deep playoff runs have. And adding a guy like Pietrus gives you that dimension. Not to mention, he's a 6'6", 215-pound guy who can play defense. So when you look at the things that he brings to the table, and you look at the things that the Celtics don't quite have right now, it would be a perfect fit for both sides.
All right, Sherrod, we'll be back out to you at the web zone in just a minute. Right now, we want to go back to the phones. Jennifer from West Virginia. Hello, Jen.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Glad to talk to you.
I love your accent.
Yeah, we're hickish here. Yeah, I had a question. Do you all think that Rajon Rondo is going to be there after the trade deadline?
Well, if people just stop worried about Rondo. Rondo is the only player that other people were truly interested in. So all the conversations that general managers have amongst themselves involves one player on the Celtics that other people want. That doesn't mean that they're actually going out there and shopping him and saying, okay, would you give us this? Now, I'll put it to you this way. If there was a 23-year-old Shaquille O'Neal out there that you could trade Rondo for, I might do it. But Rondo is going to be so important to this team if they're going to play this up quick and tempo-paced game. He's the guy that creates it. And you saw the whole thing slow down when he wasn't in there. They need him in order to have a successful season this year. Nobody on the bench will do exactly what Rondo would do. And, I got upset when they were talking about Chris Paul. There's only one basketball. We have 4 guys that could score. So why does Rondo have to score the points? Get the ball to the right guy. Chris Paul, if they got Chris Paul, they'd have 5 guys. Philadelphia tried that. There's only one ball. They're getting each other's way.
Thanks, Jennifer. Only a half-hour interview. You've upset Tommy Heinsohn.
Jennifer, I love you.
To answer her question, I think he will be here because I think the moves that had to be made have pretty much been made. I hope that I'm right in this case because right now this team is trying to get to a place in a short amount of time with an older team. So I think he will be because I think if there were moves to be made, they probably would have already been made. And other teams are thinking the same thing. You have to get your pieces in place if you're really trying to make a serious run to win this year. You can't do that in February if you're mixing guys and matching guys. It just won't happen.
James from Maine, you're next. Hi, Jim.
Hey, guys. It's a real pleasure to talk to you. I enjoy listening to all 3 of you guys.
Thank you very much.
Now, I know Tommy just said that Rondo doesn't necessarily have to score, but my question was, let's say if Rondo starts hitting that 16, 17-foot jumper this year pretty consistently, how dangerous do you think the Celtics would be if he could knock that shot down consistently?
Well, it'd take somebody out of the paint, more or less. Everybody's given him that shot, and he now has the confidence to start taking it, as we saw last night. He was, I believe, 5 for 6 from the field, and I don't believe there was a layup, maybe one out of those baskets that he scored. Now, this kid can shoot the ball. Take my word that he can shoot the ball. It's just the other guys are better shooters than him. That's all.
Expectations are huge. I mean, if Rondo starts making those shots, you don't need Chris Paul. You don't need Darren Williams because he's basically already shown everybody that he can defend better than those guys. He can get his team, and he can be the floor general better than those guys. He's going to have to be some type of threat, though, guys. He can't just stand out there and go 0 for 8. He has to at least, I always call it the Grant Hill effect. One of the hardest guys to guard in basketball. Grant Hill wasn't a great shooter, they said. He could make shots, but he wasn't a shooter. And what he would do is, if you played up on him, he had such long arms and big hands to go by you in one step that you were dead. If you backed off of him, he would come at you 100 miles an hour and still get to where he wanted to. I think that's really the beauty of Rondo's game right now. He doesn't have to settle for jump shots. He can make shots. He may not be a shooter, but he can make shots when he needs to. I really do believe that.
877-CSN-2160, 877-276-2160. Phil, I think in Revere, you next.
Yes.
How are you?
Hey, guys. Oh, it's a pleasure talking to you, Tommy and Mike. I mean, you guys, every time you guys are on, I always listen to you. But my comment is about the age of Ray, Paul, and Kevin. I don't think that it's a problem. People are making out to seem like they're going into the nursing home. Ray Allen has the best shot in the league, and he takes care of his body better than anybody else in the league. So I don't see why people are saying that we should get rid of him after his contract next year. I think he can play till he's 50. Like, honestly, I mean, KJ with the knee issue, I think that's a little bit of a problem. And Rondo, he's one of the best point guards in this whole league. And I don't care what anybody says. Point guards are supposed to pass first, not shoot first. So I'll take your comments off the air. Thanks.
Okay. Any thoughts, guys?
No, I think the big three, the main thing that's going to happen to them is surviving injury. Now, we're seeing Paul Pierce nursing a heel injury. This is an accumulation of things over the years, and all of a sudden an injury pops up, you pop a muscle, and it takes a little bit longer to come back. So I think they'll be in as great a shape as they possibly can be, but the wear and tear of all the seasons they play may start to show up now, and that's going to be hurtful if that happens.
Well, he asked, why is everyone saying that they're done? Well, one guy's in his 17th season, and the other guy's in his 16th season. That's an easy question to answer. They're getting older. That doesn't mean that they're getting worse. They're just getting older, and we know how this league is. New is sexy. Young is the way this league is going. You have a guy in Derrick Rose, an MVP. What is he? The youngest MVP in NBA history. That's where the league is going. That's why you hear all these comments about getting rid of these guys. They're getting old. It's just going to continue to happen, even long after they're gone.
All right, we're going to talk about one of those older guys as we continue. Jermaine O'Neal, was he the MVP of this abbreviated training camp and exhibition season? He just might have been. We'll have more on the tip-off special. Phone calls, tweets, you name it. We got it. Stick around. Welcome back to the Celtics tip-off special here. And don't forget, you can follow the game live on Celtics.com with Game Time Live. Chat with Celtic fans all over the world and track all the stats in real time. You can do that. You can have a laptop on your lap, or you just have one of these on your lap and you're watching the game and you're just plugged into the whole world.
It's not Christmas yet, though.
Great. It's kind of how you watch the game at home at night. You got your iPad, you got your laptop, your iPhone.
Absolutely. Got it all.
Got it all, babe. He's got it all. Let's check in on our live chat. Luis wants to know from you guys, who are they going to have defending the elite players like Kobe, LeBron, when the starters are down? I believe that's something the Celtics are going to have to do to win another championship. I just don't know who's going to do the defending. Who's going to do the defending?
I think at the quick forward spot, we got three guys that are going to play defense against those type of players. And they're all pretty good, Marquise and Pavlovich. And probably even better than Green would have been if he had been playing a quick forward spot. So, you know, that's not my concern, playing defense at that spot. I like our backcourt. I think we got a better backcourt. I'm anxious to see Avery Bradley, Rondo, and Dooling, and the pressure that they can apply to the other point guards. I mean, it was outstanding what Avery Bradley did up in Toronto against two excellent ball handlers with the pressure. So it's going to be fun to watch because, I mean, that's determination. And we got the people to do it. That's the fun part.
Yeah, as Tommy says, we can cover the Chris Pauls of the world. Can we cover the LeBrons and the Kobes?
Well, I think it's important to remember when this team was first put together, at least in the Big Three era, Rondo was young. He was a guy who played defense like he was still in college, reaching a lot. Doc Rivers was infuriated at times with him. Ray Allen, a guy who really never had to guard, at least in college, Coach Calhoun would say, a chair in his life. And then Paul Pierce, a guy who was focused more on scoring than defense. And how did they do it? How did they win a championship? They did it, like we say, on a string. They did it all together. And I think when the starters are down, the guys you have coming off the bench, a lot of those guys started for their teams that they were with before. So they understand what it's like to play multiple minutes and then important minutes. I don't think you have one guy that's going to stand out. I think great teams have great team defense, and that's what we'll see from guys off the bench.
We got a tweet here for Left for Luke. He says, any chance Juwan Johnson will make an impact this season? You start that off, Tony.
You know, if KG is rolling and Chris Wilcox, if these guys are rolling and they're knocking down shots, I just, you know, you can't, what is the saying? A leopard doesn't change his stripes. Or stripes is what my guys like to say. A leopard doesn't change his stripes. You know, Doc Rivers isn't historically a guy who plays rookies. And I think that's kind of been a frustration of a lot of the Avery Bradley fans, Tommy Heinsohn, when Doc Rivers doesn't play the younger guys. And I think he's a great addition in practice, but I'm just not sure he's ready. And don't misunderstand what I'm saying. He's a really a mature guy, stayed in school, but I just don't think this team right now was built for him to play a ton of minutes, unless there are injuries.
Can he play in this league at the weight he's at?
You know, that's the weight he's used to playing at. I think the misconception is guys, Rip Hamilton, guys come into this league and they say he's got to put some weight on. Not all guys can play at a heavier weight. I'm not sure his body is built to put on 20 pounds. Kendrick Perkins, we've seen, played at 290. Now he's down to 260. You know, maybe that's a better weight for him. But I don't think Juwan Johnson is built like that. Some guys just can't play with a ton of weight or less weight.
Is he a factor this year at all?
I think he will be because somebody's going to go down. And if it's KG, this kid's going to play a lot of minutes, and he'll be a backup guy, and he's got the skills. From the little I've seen of him, I think he's got the skills to be a very effective player. Now, one of the things that I really like about him, he's a 6'11" guy who's as slender as he is, who wasn't afraid to get in on the boards, at least the games that we've seen him. And he's quick. He'll outrace any forward up the floor if they play the up-quick game. So, yeah, there's a place for him.
All right, let's go up to Guilford, New Hampshire, and talk with Fred. Hello, Fred.
Yes, I was listening to Felger and Maz, and they were putting the Celtics.
You should never listen to Felger and Maz. That's the first.
Unless they're talking about hockey. But go ahead.
And
every time he talks, he puts a hockey puck in his mouth.
And so I'm saying to myself, now, wait a minute. I only had a couple of little short games to look at, but I see a tall guy running the floor and finishing a fast break. I see people rebounding. I see people taking shots from the outside and making them. So what I'd like to have Tommy do is to give us a quick rundown of guys, say, from 7 to 14, who we can anticipate, like we used to have the no-name defense in football years ago. Well, we've got sort of a no-name bench of the Celtics right now. I think they're probably going to be a lot better than most people think they're going to be because Danny picks them that way and because the coach can coach them up that way. So can you bring us up to date on some of those guys we're not going to hear much about? I'll hang up and listen.
Well, the first thing is the backcourt. I think Dooling and Avery Bradley and the rookie are all going to be important parts of what's going on. I think the pressure-type defense and the tempo game was made for all four of them. They are not big, but, boy, you'll have a heck of a time trying to keep up with them. And a guy like Bradley, particularly Bradley, can get up underneath bigger players and really bother them and stay with them. And I think the question will be the rookie, if he can play that type of defense. As far as the big people are concerned, Wilcox's going to be good, although he's still playing half defense from other teams where he gets speed, he stands there and watches them. And the same with Bass. I think they'll get these two guys into a better defensive posture, and I think their quickness and speed and aggressiveness on the offensive board. We may have better offensive rebounding with this crew than we've had in a long time. So that's going to be coming off the bench.
Donnie, does Steamsma have a chance to contribute here?
You know what, I know Tommy and we disagree about Juwan Johnson and also Avery Bradley, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more as the season goes on. Steamsman was a guy I think that you would see get time over Juwan Johnson, only because he does the things in the paint area. He has the size, he has the body. He's very, very intelligent. Not that Johnson is not, but the things that Steamsman shows you is that he knows where to be on the floor. He knows how to communicate with his guys defensively. He just always seems to be in a position where good things happen, and you love having guys like that on the floor. And I know Doc Rivers, as a former player, understands that too. You might not be the greatest player on the floor, but he's a player that makes guys around him great.
All right, Debbie in Cambridge is standing by on the phones. Hi, Deb.
Debbie.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, who am I speaking with?
Mike, Donnie, and Tommy.
Oh,
Who'd you
hi,
call?
I know. Oh, all of you. Oh, I know. There's a good question. Yeah. Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, boy. Anyway, I'll know it's yeah. What, did you hear my question? Let's repeat it.
And your last season for the Big Three?
Yeah, do you think this will be the last season for them?
Don't know. I think, you know, Graves still may have some left in the tank. I think all three of them may have something left in the tank. But they will be, if that happens, they will be playing fewer minutes in the future than they anticipate even playing this year. They're starting to build a regimen for that purpose of not really running them into the ground. Pierce played a lot of minutes last year after Marquise went down, and he was dragging by the end of the year.
And if that guy right there is back next year, which I would love to see him back next year, but he's going to be playing for a lot less money than he's playing for this year.
That's the thing that I think a lot of fans have to understand. Any player will never leave. If you ask me, let's go play. Tommy, I mean, any player would tell you, I'm coming back or I want to be playing. But when you get to become a free agent, the business of basketball takes over. And now it becomes a general manager, an ownership, and a coach's decision. So it's not really on the players. If they do what they're supposed to do, I know these players want to come back, and we won't see the last of them, but it's not that easy. We know that.
Yeah. Lots still to talk about here on the Celtics Tip-Off Special. We'll be talking about Rajon Rondo, some of the things he can do that maybe no other point guard in the league can do. We'll take your calls. We'll take your tweets. Join us. Boston Celtics basketball is back, and Comcast Sportsnet has the Celtics Christmas Day game against the Knicks all covered up. Watch a special one-hour edition of Celtics Pregame Live presented by Ace Ticket. That'll come your way at 11. And then tune in immediately after the game for the Celtics Postgame Live presented by New England Ford Dealers. It's in-depth coverage you can't get anywhere else. Join us on Christmas Day. And thanks for joining us here on our Celtics Tip-Off Special. We want to go back out to the AT&T Web Zone, talk with A. Sherrod Blakely a little bit here. And from our chat room, Sherrod, they want to know, is Jeff Green still in the long-term plans of the Celtics? What do you think?
Well, I think the fact that this guy still hangs around this team, is still very close to the coaching staff, to Danny Ainge, to just his organization, speaks to how I think there's a mutual interest on both sides to see if they can have a long-term partnership. But obviously his surgery that he's going to have on January 9th is going to dictate, to a large degree, how much of a relationship will these two sides have going forward. But, you know, I think it speaks to just how valuable Jeff Green was going to be this year. The fact that it takes multiple players to fill the void that's left with him going to be being out for the entire season. So there's no question that the Celtics have a lot of interest in keeping Jeff Green around, and I think that interest is mutual.
Sure, he had, what, an $8 or $9 million contract, something like that?
$9 million.
Voided.
Yes.
I know this is a hard question, but this is a hard business. Given what he's going to go through, he's probably looking at, what, half of that?
He's going to take a cut. It just depends on how steep a cut. I still think even if he does come back after the surgery, and all indications are that he will and he should be fine going forward, I think he's looking at probably something in the $5 to $6 million range. And if you're the Celtics, I just can't see why you commit long-term to him and give him a multi-year deal. I think he'll be looking at maybe a one-year deal for $5 to $6 million.
Okay, another question for you here, Sherrod. Sammy in Somerville wants to know, why didn't the Celtics re-sign Delonte West?
Why did we not re-sign Delonte West? Oh, 2 words. Bradley. You bring Delonte West back, there was no way Avery Bradley had a shot of seeing any playing time. Delonte is that good. But the flip side to that is the Celtics believe Avery Bradley has the potential to be as good or better than Delonte. So far in the preseason, I just don't think it's worked out that way. I think the kid Etwan Moore, the rookie out of Purdue, I think has been a better player overall. But again, they have a lot of confidence in Avery Bradley, and the one thing that he does, and he's been pretty consistent with this, is his defense. He plays hard. The one thing that he hasn't really got a feel for yet is how to pace himself, how to just bring that defensive intensity, but do it in a constructive way and not just be kind of running out there ragged. I think his focus defensively needs to get a little bit sharper, a little bit more fine-tuned, and he'll be okay as a defender. But as an overall player, I'm just not really feeling him right now.
All right, Sherrod, thanks very much. We'll be joining you again in the AT&T Web Zone right now. We're going to go back to the telephones, and Paulo in Fall River, you're next.
Hi, guys. I wanted to talk about, in the last game, I've seen that Allen, Pierce, Rondo, and Garnett weren't playing that many hours. Do you think we're going to be seeing that through many of the other games as we see during the Celtics series?
Well, they've already programmed into each game that KG is going to play 5 minutes, sit on the bench for 5 minutes, come back in and play 5 minutes, and they call it the 5-5-5 program, and they're going to do that each half, and it amounts to it should amount to roughly 30 minutes. And he was playing last year like 33 or 34 minutes average-wise. The other guys, I think they're going to probably implement the same type of thing, maybe not 5-5-5, but 6-6, whatever. And we'll see. But the more they take those guys out, And there's a little secret if you're going to play up-tempo basketball and be aggressive, is if you take your guy out first and the other guy is the least little bit tired, and you put a fresh guy in, that fresh guy can really tire out that starter, and now you bring back your fresh starter against their second-line guy, and you got the advantage. And you can work those matchups to your advantage through the entire game if you do just exactly what I said. Take them out a little bit earlier than you would think.
There's going to be some interesting combinations on the floor if they stick to this kind of thing.
Well, you know, I would say not play the young guys, but younger. If you think about between Wilcox, Pavlovich, Keon, Keese, and Bass, they average 7-8 years of service in the NBA. So they're not necessarily young, relatively speaking. They are with Ray and obviously the big three.
Compared to us.
Exactly. So I think you will see some combinations of those guys, which again, think about the guys that you have coming off the bench. Pavlovich was a starter at times in Cleveland. Wilcox in Seattle was a starter. Brandon Bass probably was not a starter, but played with some terrific players and played some important minutes, not so much in Orlando, but more in Dallas. And then Keon Dooling, he's been a starter everywhere he's been pretty much. So they have some good guys coming off the bench. So they're not necessarily young guys, but younger, but young veterans is exactly. You can see how this team is being built. You're not just going to throw NBDL players in there just to get guys rest. You're going to put quality guys on the floor. And I know someone earlier said, one of the callers said, no-name guys. These guys have names. Just they're new to us right now, but they're going to make big noise and names for themselves here in Boston.
All right. Speaking of Boston, LaCar in Boston is next on the line. Hello.
Hey, hi, guys.
Hey.
Hey, Tommy, I got a question for you. Do you actually think Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett is going to really stick around after this year? Because the reason why I say that, remember when New York traded Patrick Ewing because they figured that they can get something for him? If Danny lets them walk, they go elsewhere, that means they got nothing for him. Say, like, for example, you think they're going to go through that LeBron James thing again, and you think Dwight Howard is going to really stick around with Orlando, or they're going to try to move him before he becomes a free agent?
Well, first of all, our guys in their middle, and they will be in their latter 30s, if people are really interested in them, they would have been talking about them instead of Rondo over the course of this summer. Now, next year, they're a year older, and they would plug in as a backup. And I think the Celtics would make a better offer than most of the other teams just to keep the family atmosphere. Red Auerbach, and I think Danny's got a touch of this in him too. Red Auerbach would keep a guy a little bit longer, and then so he would know that he was going to have a career and not get parceled out, you know, at the first sign of deterioration. And it was very meaningful for everybody. That's why a lot of players wanted to come to Boston, and they're trying to build the same atmosphere that free agents will want to come here, that they will be treated in a proper way and have a long-time career and not just be a piece of meat.
Quick answer from both of you just to close off something we talked about earlier. Delonte West, were you surprised he was not re-signed?
A little bit. I think there's been a love affair for Delonte here. Danny Ainge has been a guy that has really been a supporter of Delonte, and all the issues Delonte's had throughout his career, at least here in Boston, he's really supported Delonte West. So I was a little bit surprised, but, you know, Gerard had a great point. They're trying to give Avery Bradley a shot. Right now it's set up, Avery Bradley, the opportunity is his to either grasp and be successful with or really fail at. So I think with that being said, you know, you understand that Avery Bradley, I still think he has a lot to prove, not just basketball-wise, but I think just his mentality when he's out on the floor and he's working on his game. But Delonte West, he's been a fan favorite, a Danny Ainge favorite, and you know, I think Doc Rivers as well. So I was a little bit surprised by that. I mean, Dallas gets a gem. There's some work that comes with Delonte West. They're going to find out, but I'm telling you, when he's on the floor, when you're in those lines, he's going to give it
One
all
word
to
answer,
you.
yes or no? You were surprised?
What?
Yes or no?
Was I surprised? No.
No. Okay, good. Ray Allen, he's here. Some of the fans have been saying all night he could stay here for another 5 years maybe. We won't be here for another 5 years, so get your phone calls in here. We're around for about another half hour or so. Celtics tip-off special continues in a moment. 'Tis the season to be jolly. The Celtics might not have time to be jolly. Christmas Day against the Knicks. Then 2 nights later down in Miami, they see LeBron and Dwayne Wade for the first time. Then the very next night, we're in New Orleans. Tommy and I will be there for that one against the Hornets. Finally, the home opener comes December 30th against the Pistons. And then Sunday, January 1st, the Celtics are at the Wizards. 4 of their first 5 games are on the road. What about this schedule, guys? Is this going to be a killer, or is it going to be...
Well, you never really like to open up on the road, even the first game. But when you open up with 4 of the first 5, that's tough, because you've got to, and particularly under these circumstances right now, where there's a whole bunch of new players that have to be indoctrinated into the way Doc wants them to play to be effective. It's going to be tough.
I like the approach Doc's taking. We're not complaining. Everybody's playing the schedule.
Yep.
And everyone has to go through this. So let's just go out there and play basketball. And the cliche, one game at a time, is really, it's going to be more important this season, I think, than ever before. You open up, Knicks, Heat. Then you go to, where are they, in New Orleans?
Yeah, New Orleans.
So, I mean, it's going to be one of those 3-game blocks. We got to get 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 and kind of go from there.
All right. Got some tweets for you here, guys. You ready?
Tweet me, baby.
Tweet me, baby. Griffin Bennett wants to know, get careful there, how is Eton Moore going to fit in with the Celtics?
We were just talking about that in the break.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he'll be a decent player, but I think he's going to have trouble defensively. I'm told that he was a very good defender in college, but from what I watched, bending his knees or fighting over picks, he's not used to playing pro defense. And he doesn't have the quickness to stay with some of the 2 guards. But Doc is a very good teacher of defense to guys like Ray Allen that you mentioned on our talk. So he'll come along. Offensively, he's very confident in shooting the ball. So I think he'll come along nicely. And
you like his game, Donnie?
I do like his game, and the most part of the biggest part of his game that I think is most important is that he's confident. He has some discipline, and I think that comes from staying in college, kids, staying in school. He learned a lot, and I think he can use what he learned in college to kind of transition to this level. Yes, Avery Bradley has the upper hand on him because he's been here. He's kind of been down to the NBDL where no one really wants to be. You try to fight your way out of there, and then you're playing for a great coach in Doc Rivers already now going into 2 seasons. Moore will figure that out, and Tommy mentioned Ray Allen, coming into Boston was never, no one even considered him a defender at all. He was a scorer. He was a shooter. He's become a pretty good defender, and I think in this system, Eton Moore has a great opportunity to not only become a better scorer, but to have better knowledge of the game of basketball, where maybe he's giving up some quickness. He will be able to create those better angles to become a good defender.
Okay, you first on this one from our live chat. If Pierce misses extended time, how does the team adjust?
It's good. You know what? There aren't a lot of guys, if you talk about the Celtics, that if you take that guy out, that the team would really kind of have a dip. I think Paul is that one guy, and not just because of what he does offensively or what he does on the defensive end or how he makes big shots, but he's their captain. He really is. And I know people think it's just a C on the chest or whatever it may be. When Paul Pierce steps on the floor, this team has a confidence that they think, we can beat anyone. And you can't say that about every single player on this team, or even for a lot of teams in the NBA, for that matter, Mike. I mean, Paul Pierce is a guy who brings this aura when he's on the floor, and without him, it's going to be tough. I think the team is good enough to be able to kind of patch their way through the season, but to not have him for extended amount of time, as far as, you're talking about 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 games, it's going to be tough. Remember, it's only a 66-game season.
Doc has said short-term he's worried, long-term he's not, about Pierce's heel injury. Where do you fit on that scale? You worried?
I'm worried. I'm worried. And to put it in my perspective, what I see, Paul Pierce is their go-to guy at the end of games. It's either Ray off of Paul Pierce making a pass because he draws the defense, or Pierce taking the shot. So that's where he will be hurt, and the team will be hurt the most if he's not around. They may be able to get away with him being down during the other parts of the game. With the style of play, okay? people score lots more layups if you pace the game. So we got guys that can finish. You know, Pavlovich and
Marquise?
Yeah, they all can finish. So.
Okay. All right, let's go to Springfield. Michelle, are you standing by?
Hello?
Hi there.
Hi, I have a question. If Petrus signs, can he be the James Posey of the championship year?
Who? If Petrus signs, can he be the James Posey of this year?
Well, he's bouncing back from an injury and from surgery. I'm not sure if he's even totally healthy yet. So that would, if he's healthy and close to 100%, he could be a diamond in the rough for this team because he is a good defender and he can knock down the outside shot and he rebounds and he plays tough.
Would bring some toughness on him.
He's the one guy when the Celtics played Orlando in the past that scared me. Dwight Howard, you know, Jameer Nelson, not so much. Petrus was the guy who scared me because he can do so many things. And I think if he is healthy, he's a more versatile player than James Posey. James Posey has a couple inches on him, but he does so much more. He can put the ball on the floor. He can defend better than James Posey. I think he has better footwork than James Posey, but he could kind of be that guy. If you're talking about six man off the bench like Posey was, yes, but I don't think you can compare these two. It's like apples and oranges. I think Michael Petrus, if he's healthy, is a much more athletic player and gives you so much more, and younger. Air France, if he's healthy, will be in the building.
Air France.
Yeah,
I like that.
they call it.
Heard that here first. Okay. We'll be back with more of our Celtics Tip-Off Special. We've got a question up on Facebook. We'll give you the results of that. The new guys, are they going to be any good? We're going to know who these guys are by mid-year. Stick around. Welcome back to our Celtics Tip-Off Special. Here's the question we threw out on Facebook. Which new Celtic will make the biggest impact? Well, you have been responding. Here are some of the answers that have come in. I love Bass's athleticism, but as Mike Gorman said, we are going to miss the extra possessions that Big Baby gave us, the way he took charges. Steamsma, he's going to be good this year. Give him minutes. Stick with the kids. I always say this at home. Don't be a Patino.
To who?
And finally, I think Wilcox. He's got the best. He's not the best defender, but he will board and he will put up points. Those are some of your responses. Keep them coming. All right, let's talk about a couple of these guys. And a guy that we haven't talked about too much tonight, Keon Dooling. Tom, I know you like what you see so far.
Yeah, Dooling is an experienced veteran, and he's the first real true point guard backup that we've had to Rondo. Rondo, I mean, for people who don't understand, Rondo was like going out of his mind at the end of the season because he was up pressing. They wanted him to press. They wanted him to energize the team, push the ball, rebound, do all this stuff, and he was wearing down.
Yep.
And Dooling is going to come in and really help. In fact, I think you're going to see a lot of Dooling and Rondo, and I think Bradley will get more time than Moore because of his ability to pressure.
The best backup Rondo has had since he's been here, Dooling?
No question. He's a combination guard. He shoots 35% from three-point range over his career. He's been in the league, what, this is 12 years now?
Oh, he's been around.
He's consistent. I mean, he's a guy who you throw out there who can handle the basketball, obviously. But remember in the past, you know, you have Ray Allen, Eddie House handling the ball. Teams would jump on them like they were a piece of meat. I mean, they saw that these two guys could not handle the basketball like Rondo, so you pressure them. You can't do that with Keon Dooling. And he brings a presence, I think, to that second unit as well. A guy who can go out there, handle the pressure. He can give you that confidence. And after that, I mean, now it comes down to Doc Rivers saying, okay, who do we go with?
Yeah.
Do we go with one of our first or second year players, or do we go with the guy who's been around and done it? I think we go with the Keon Dooling.
Early return on the Brandon Bass, Big Baby.
I've always been a fan of Brandon Bass. I mean, I loved Big Baby. I thought what he brought to the team as far as excitement was great, but I think at times his antics really kind of overshadowed his production, and I think the team at times felt that too. You know, you love a guy to do what he's supposed to do, make shots, kind of have some humility. Baby at times didn't always show us that, to say the least. With Brandon Bass, to me, he's a workhorse. Yeah. He's a workhorse. He just works. You don't see him looking in the crowd. You don't see him making faces. They're different personalities, obviously, but which, you know, I was one of the most flamboyant guys in college, so people hated me. So this is coming from a guy who played a lot like Glenn Davis as far as taunting goes. But Brandon Bass, to me, for this team, really makes sense. I said this before, he's played with great players in Jason Kidd and Dirk Nowitzki. He's played with Dwight Howard. He knows how to play with studs. So coming here, he's not wide-eyed. He's a worker, and that's what we see him doing right now.
You like it so far?
I think, well, I haven't seen an awful lot of them. You know, I mean, Big Baby was a terrific player coming off the bench for the Celtics. Believe it or not, he was a two-position player. I mean, he could play guys like Howard, you know, and lean on them. But the thing that he did better than almost anybody we've had in a long, long time is pass the ball as a power forward. So he added a lot to what the team was trying to do. And he was much more versatile offensively than they let him be, and that was his complaint. And, you know, jump shots, and they wanted him to drive to the basket more and a whole bit. But I would say this, Bass is a more intense player, is more athletic. Big Baby was always a hamburger away from obscurity.
He can buy a lot of hamburgers now with that 26, 27 million he got.
He can indeed. Adam in Fairhaven, you want to join the discussion here?
Hey, guys. Great show tonight. Learned a lot about these new guys, but I have a couple questions, but the main question I have is, looking back in the past, the second unit, they struggled at times to have that go-to guy to score, and they kind of were passing off to each other. And it seems like a lot of these guys are really great role players, but who's going to step up and be the go-to kind of leader and scorer on that second unit? And the second part is, who is the Celtics' biggest competition in the East looking like this year? I know it's early and season hasn't even started, but who are you guys scared of? I shouldn't say scared, but who are you guys looking out for in terms of their biggest challenge with the shortened season and that sort of thing?
You know, Michael, I just want to answer this for a lot of people out there. I think I call it the Sports Center era. They see a Jamal Crawford. They see guys who come off the bench and score 20 points a game. And if you look back at the teams who have had success in the NBA over the last, say 5 years, they don't have a guy scoring off the bench scoring more than any starter. And the teams that have success know that they put guys. They take guys off the bench and put guys who can work together. You know, it's not about being the best player on the floor. It's about putting the players on the floor that make each other the best. And I think that's what the Celtics have always done. I think that's what they're going to do this season. It drives me crazy when people think, who's the go-to guy off the bench? I don't think this team is built like that. I don't think when they won the championship they were built like that. The teams that are built like that, where you have a one guy, the New York Knicks, the Atlanta Hawks, teams that you don't see having a lot of success, down the line. I just don't think this team needs one guy to come in and score 10 more points than the next guy off the bench. But T, what do you think about that? I don't know if they need a go-to guy off the bench.
Well, Dooling is going to run the show, and he's an experienced point guard. And what the Celtics have done historically, and Doc has a tendency to do this too, is utilize the best matchup and give the best matchup the green light to go. And there are certain players that we will have on that second unit that probably can go one-on-one against whoever's defending them. Don't forget, more often than not, they'll be playing backup guys too. So when you look at it, I think we have enough people there. I mean, I can see people coming off picks, you know, like Moore's that type of player. I think Bradley can get to the rim. I think that you got three-point shooters. I think Marquise can get where he wants to get to and overpower people to 15 feet and make the shot. Bass may be a good inside player. We have yet to see either one of them be a low post player and make a move. So I'm kind of looking for that.
And there aren't exactly a ton of minutes in games where one of the big three, at least one of the big three or big four, is not on the court.
Yeah, we're talking about 15 guys tonight. Doc's not going to play 15 guys. Right. He just not. He historically he just does not do that, and I don't think any team can really do that and figure out who they are. So this team, I mean, we talked about the veterans, 5 guys. Maybe you throw in one youngster 3 games, and then he sits down, then another youngster comes in. But you're absolutely right, Mike. There's going to be at least one of the big 4 on the floor at all times, and I think unless it's a blowout, obviously. But in games that mean something, I agree. There's going to be at least one of the big 4 on the floor at all times.
Quick response. Best team in the East?
Chicago.
I'm going to say Miami.
I'm going to say Boston.
Of course. Wait, is that Greg over there or Mike? Who is that over there?
Sean, come on, up there in New Hampshire. You know, Boston's the best team in the East, right?
Just a quick question. Is there even a point in trying to work out some kind of deal for Dwight Howard, or would the Celtics have to give up too much?
Any team's going to have to give up a lot.
I don't think he wants to come here.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he wants to come to Boston per se. I don't think he wants to. He wants to go to New Jersey, or he wants to go somewhere warm.
I don't know why you. Well, I'm
Brooklyn.
Sorry. No.
It won't be New Jersey.
Okay.
It'll be
Brooklyn. Well, no offense.
Brooklyn
Tommy.
is warm.
No,
I said no. I was going to say no offense to Tommy. I don't know why you'd want to go to New Jersey. I know that's where he's from instead of Boston. But some guys are like that, and it's new, it's fresh. And Dwight Howard wants to be a spectacle. He wants to be the guy. Is he? I'm not sure.
He's a Southern kid. He's kind of enamored with New York City. Exactly. But not as enamored with the Boston skyline. So, the Celtics are going to put themselves in position in terms of having the money to pay Dwight Howard. I just don't think they're going to get a whole lot of interest out of Dwight Howard.
I don't know if he's a big market player, to tell you the truth, the temperament to be a big market player.
That's a great point.
I think, it takes a certain type of guy with some swagger to really get the job done in New York and L.A. because, and particularly New York, I mean, they'll shoot you down as soon as you walk out of the locker room at your first game. So he's an adored one down there in Orlando. Everybody loves him, and they'll love him forever. So if he's, I think he'd have a tough time dealing with the pressures of the Big Apple.
Grass might not be greener. Plus, there's snow on the ground.
There's no grass.
When it's green down in
Orlando. Either.
That's right.
To begin with. Let's get Sherrod back in this discussion if we can. Do you have any thoughts, A, as to whether or not Dwight Howard would even consider coming to Boston, and B, if not, where do you think he ends up?
No, I don't see him coming to Boston unless it'll be 2, 3, 4 times. Well, playoffs. That's pretty much it. I think Dwight is going to wind up in New Jersey, and I think, Dwight is falling in line with a lot of the top players now who want to play this buddy ball thing. They want to go somewhere where there's a guy already there or a guy they can bring there that's going to take a little bit of the pressure, a little bit of the heat, so to speak, off of them that comes with being a franchise-type player. I'm not a big fan of it, personally. I think GMs should be allowed to be GMs and players should be players and stick to playing a game instead of bringing all your buddies and have your little AAU team in the city near you. But I think Dwight Howard, he's going to be another one of those guys who's just going to, get with Darren Williams in New Jersey. That's a big part of why New Jersey is a team that Dwight is seriously interested in, whereas in Boston, it's just not going to be like that. He would be the face of the franchise, and he knows that. You go to New Jersey or Brooklyn, which, by the time he gets there, it'll be Brooklyn. That's going to be Darren Williams' team, and he knows that, and he's perfectly fine with being that guy.
Let me ask you a quick question, and I need a quick answer. Come playoff time this year, what uniform is Dwight Howard wearing?
Dwight? He's going to be in a Magic uniform. I think they're going to screw it up and keep him there and not move him.
Okay. All right, we got more coming up with our tip-off special here. The Knicks, what better team to open up?
Show them playing some defense.
No, we
can't find any tape.
Can't find any tape with that happening on it. Stick around. We'll handicap the Knicks and the Celtics when we get back. Boston Celtics basketball is back, and Comcast Sportsnet has the Celtics Christmas Day game against the Knicks covered. Watch a special one-hour edition of the Celtics pregame live presented by Ace Ticket at 11, and tune in immediately after the game for Celtics postgame live presented by the New England Ford dealers. It's in-depth coverage you can't get anywhere else. Welcome back once again to our Celtics tip-off special here as the Celtics are getting ready to play the Knicks in the opener. We got another phone call we want to squeeze in here because we don't get a lot of calls out of Miami, but we got Chris from Miami on the line.
Don't say anything silly, Chris.
Come on, Chris. What do you got?
Okay. How you doing, guys? I'm a big Celtics fan ever since 1983. A big Celtics fan.
All right.
Wow.
Okay, now, my one question I have is, do we have a strong 18th championship banner this year?
Do we have a legitimate shot at the 18th banner this year? For my 2 cents, if we get to the playoffs healthy, why not?
I'm exactly the same feeling that the health of this team. I thought they had a legitimate shot last year to go all the way until the injury started, and then everybody started going down, and we didn't have the team that could bring us to the title was in the hospital.
Right. I think you have the pieces to get it done. I think the way I look at it is if you take, say, the top 3 teams in the East, and you say everything being equal, everyone is healthy, and you compare every part, I think the Celtics are the team that can get that 18th banner for them. Only because they have the experience, they know, they've been there, they've done it, and like you say, if they're healthy, they get there. They are a team. They're not a team standing around watching one guy. Right. I agree with Tom. They are a quote-unquote team.
That's always tough to beat, no matter, you know, the ball clubs that have 3 players, a good team will beat 3 players.
Okay, let's bring Sherrod back in again for a final thought. What do you expect to see on Christmas Day, Sherrod?
I expect to see a good game. I think the Celtics are going to really surprise some people in how well they play collectively together. You know, we know about the Big Four and what they can do, but I really think people are going to have their eyes opened by Brandon Bass and Chris Wilcox. I think those 2 guys in particular are going to have breakout seasons. And you guys were talking a little bit earlier about Banner 18. You're going to need guys off that bench to have career-type seasons in order to bring home Banner 18. We all know what the Big Four can do. It's those guys off the bench are the question marks right now.
All right, Sherrod, thanks very much. Thanks for hanging out with us here tonight. Donnie, your thoughts. What do you expect to see Christmas Day afternoon?
You know what? I think you're going to see what you know. I think you're going to see a New York Knicks team that's going to be high-flying. I don't think Tyson Chandler's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get some alley-oops. The crowd's going to get excited. You see it every year in New York. And in the end, they're not going to be able to get stops. The Celtics are going to find guys to make shots. Talk about a team being a great team. The Celtics have guys who rebound. They have guys who defend. And they also have guys who can take big shots and make big shots, and you just can't bet against that.
What are you looking for, T?
Well, a pressure defense against their no guards, and Carmelo Anthony having to bring the ball up and take him out of the rhythm of what he wants to do. So I think they're going to take away a part of the game that the Knicks rely on, and I'm saying Celtics are going to beat them.
Okay. 66-game schedule. How many games the Celtics win this year?
Well, that's enough to get home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs.
Okay. It's impossible to say. Injuries play such a big part, and that's all. I mean, if everybody's healthy, you know, we could win 50 games.
You know, one thing we didn't talk a lot about tonight, and I know we're off in a second, Doc Rivers, the job that he's done since he's been here, and we talked off the top that him coming back is huge. It's so big for this team. It's so big for this organization, and I hope not just the organization, but the players understand and appreciate what this guy brings to the table for them as a team. You know, a lot of players go places just because of the cities. The players that are on this team are here because of Doc Rivers. Okay. Even though Boston's a great city, it's very cold in the winter, but they're here because of Doc.
All right, Donnie, Tommy, Sherrod, thank you very much all for joining us here tonight on the Celtics Tip-Off Special. We send out our best to Gary and Greg. You're probably wondering where those guys are.
Only the scorers are here tonight.
Yeah. They're both under the weather, couldn't make it, wanted to be here, will be here all season long as we begin on Sunday, Christmas Day. We will have pregame and postgame coverage for you of the Celtics opener. Again, for Sherrod, Donnie, and Tommy, I'm Mike. Bye-bye.